Good morning. We're going to wait a couple minutes to make sure everyone gets logged in. We'll just give people just another minute to get situated here. This is VirtualPBX admin dash training for our dash platform. If you're a vConsole customer, we no longer do the live trainings for vConsole. However, we do have them recorded. So if you go over to virtualpbx.com, you mouse over support, and then you choose vConsole support, which is where I am right now. If you scroll down just a little bit, over here on the right, the advanced admin training, that's the complete training we have for vConsole. Basically covers all the features, how to set things up, etc. And then down below that, we have the various guides for specific features, as well as for devices. If you ever need to log in, that's under the PBX login. For Dash customers, the full training here is here under new user training. And then if you scroll down, again, you have the guides for the features as well as for devices. And the guides will include screenshots so you know what to look for as you're going through. In terms of login, again, that's the PBX login section here. So Dash login, that's where we're going to be in just a little bit. Down below, or just below that, is the VirtualPBX web phone. The web phone is a VoIP device available for our Dash customers. It makes use of a desktop browser. Currently, that's restricted to Chrome and Firefox. But basically, once you add the web phone to your user in Dash, then you can use those browsers to make and receive calls. It's not fully supported on mobile devices or mobile versions of those browsers. For instance, I've been able to use Chrome on my Android phone to use the web phone. However, customers have not been able to make use of either Chrome or Firefox on the iPhone, for example. Engineers are working on a new version of the web phone to have broader compatibility in terms of both browsers and for mobile devices. And then further down, we have the vConsole login for our vConsole customers. So we'll go ahead and log into Dash. So your login is always going to be your email address, password, and then the account name is usually your company name. Using a test account, so obviously if you ever forget, you forgot your info link right here. All right, so once you get logged in, you get to your dashboard. Now, the first time you ever log in, the wizard pops up, gives you, little pop-ups, basically describes some of the things you're seeing. Once you close out of that, then you get to the dashboard. Your overall navigation is over here at the top right. We sometimes refer to this as the hamburger menu. So we're on the dashboard. If you have queues, you can get to the queues through here. Blacklist is a feature that you can use to block callers from calling in based on their caller ID. This is your fax manager. This can get you to their call recordings, basically, recorded conversations between users and customers. The user portal, which is what your standard users have access to. The voicemail manager, and then webhooks. But once you're in the dashboard, you're mostly navigating here on the left to get to the various feature sections. So total users, these are what I refer to as fully functional users or fully featured users. These are people who make and receive calls. They can use basically any device. So they can use VoIP phones. They can also receive calls on a landline or a cell phone, for example. In terms of features, I mean, they all have voicemail. They can make use of a conference bridge. They can have their own fax box if they want, or if you want them to, rather. They can make use of call forwarding and a few others. Down below, or just below them, we have agents. So agents are people that are strictly using ACD queues. So these are people who are basically receiving calls only. They are restricted to VoIP devices only. So like a physical VoIP phone, Yealink, Polycom, Cisco, soft phone, so like our VirtualPBX soft phone app, or like something like Xlite or Bria, or the web phone. They really have no features to speak of other than voicemail, right? So, and again, since they're restricted to VoIP devices, they can't use cell phones or landlines, so there's no call forwarding either. Next up, we have the total devices on the account, broken out by type. So SIP phone is a VoIP phone, then cell phone. Soft phone is an application that's running on a computer or cell phone, etc. And then unregistered means the system doesn't know if they're actually connected or working. And that's usually like your landlines or a VoIP device that's not registered to the system right now, i.e. it's not powered on or not connected to a network. Over to the right, these are your main numbers. So these are numbers your customers are calling to get to your phone system. So these numbers all behave the same way in terms of they all have the same main greeting and they all route the same way. The fax box number, this is for your inbound faxes. You don't have to have a fax box number. This is only if you're expecting to receive faxes. Generally speaking, most accounts come with two fax numbers as part of their plan, or two phone numbers, sorry. So you can use that as the main number and a fax box number, for example. All right. Total numbers, these are all the numbers on the account. An assigned number means it goes someplace, it's in use, right? So it's either a main number, fax box number. It could be going directly to a user. It could be going directly to an ACD queue. It can go directly to a ring group. A spare number is a number on your account, so you are being charged for it. However, you're not using it actively right now, meaning no incoming call traffic is coming on it. This could be just because you wanted to reserve a number for a future advertising program or a future product launch, what have you. Or maybe you got a block of sequential numbers and you just haven't gotten to the last ones yet. That sort of thing. You can always get rid of spare numbers at any time. And that would be one way to reduce your bill. In terms of your active numbers, once you unassign a number, then you can put it to a spare number, and then you can get rid of it. US DID versus US toll-free. So US DID is just a local number, right? So like area code 702 for Las Vegas or 310 for LA, that sort of thing. Whereas US toll-free, 800 number, 888, 877, etc. Company directory users, these are people that you, as an admin, have said you want to show up in the company directory. And you can always change that at any time, and then you can download said directory. The account ID is a long alphanumeric string here. That's technically your account number, so you can always use that if you need to communicate with us to identify your account. If you ever call in to support, for example, or billing, we're not going to ask you for that number. We're going to ask you for your company name. And then lastly, the account realm. That's used to program a soft phone from, say, like Xlite or from Bria, etc. Also used for outbound faxing. Those are the two major uses for it. All right, up here, this is your company caller ID. For new accounts, the system really wants you to have caller ID set up. And in fact, if you're using VoIP phones, if you don't have caller ID set up, you're not going to be able to make an outbound call. So you choose one of your main numbers, then you come down here, company caller ID name, or CNAME, or CNOM. This is restricted to 15 characters, including spaces or special characters. This is an industry standard. Then that information will, once you hit save, they'll be transmitted to all the carriers that support CNAME in North America. Now, it takes about 3 business days for that information to be updated across all the servers. Once that's done, basically when you make an outbound call, that information will be sent on that outbound call. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. Not every phone carrier in North America supports CNAME. So if a call happens to route through one of those carriers, your CNAME information does not get sent through. Even the carriers who do support it, if they're having extreme call volume or some kind of maintenance, that's the first thing that they stop from getting through, right? Their first concern is making sure the call connects, and then having the caller ID, and then lastly, CNAME. So, something to keep in mind. And then last thing, just remember, if someone programs their device with your phone number in it, whatever that device has you labeled as takes precedence over anything we send. Down below, right down here, the company emergency address, or E911. Again, this is for if you have a user pick up a VoIP phone, calls 911. This is the default address that we send out to emergency services. Obviously, you want this to be a legit address. You can also have this set up by device. So therefore, if you have users who work from home, they can have their home address in there versus the company address. And then you click Save Changes if you make any changes. All right. Next up, we have hold music. This is basically music that people listen to after they've been put on hold after they've connected to someone, right? So they call in, ring, ring, ring. Someone picks up. Oh, let me put you on hold for a minute. Boom. This is the file that plays. So you can upload your own file. Right now, it's restricted to .wav, .wav, or .mp3. You want to keep it under 1 megabyte in size. We've had some issues for file size larger than that. For your reference, a 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes long. And then you would click Save Changes. And then lastly, we have your hours. This takes us under part of the main number. So by default, new accounts are set up to 24-hour open office. That doesn't work for everybody. So for each day of the week you're open, you put a check mark in front of it. And then the boxes to the right of that, you put in your open hours in 24-hour or military time. Pardon me, not sure why that's ringing. All right, so that was a coworker trying to give me a call there. And he realized he was calling the wrong person. So back to lunch hours, or hours of operation. You have the option here at the very bottom. If your whole business or whole office is closed for lunch, put a check mark here. Oops. And then you have a box, so then you can put your lunch hours there. All right, looks like no one has shown up for training. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here before we get any further.